Continuing from the previous episode 1660. You bastard. It's bad for me. On the other side, Zhan Yuan, who was constantly circling with Yu, looked at Xiaoyan gloomily, wishing to smash Xiaoyan into 10,000 pieces. Even now, he still does not dare to believe that Tianfeng, who is half-step 5-star fighting immortal strength, will be seriously injured by a guy in the middle stage of 4-star fighting immortal. It seems that this time, you lost. Seeing this, Yu nodded slightly, and the illusory soul body continued to flash with tyrannical power, staring at Zhan Yuandao. Both Yu and Zhan Yuan were the initial strength of the 5-star fighting immortals, and they also had soul bodies, so the two were indistinguishable for a while, but Yu did not expect that Tianfeng was directly beaten and seriously injured by Xiaoyan. How's it going? Seeing Xiaoyan killing Tianfeng with thunder, Irene asked with concern. I'm fine, but this little guy, why? Xiaoyan put away the flame-swallowing technique and looked at the little Zuoma beside him, wondering. I don't know, she just entered here. She has been staring at the frozen jade spirit bamboo, seems to be caught in the memory. Irene shook her head, and there was a hint of worry in her beautiful eyes. Be careful, that guy's strength should not be underestimated, and the feeling here is always not right. After a while, Xiaoyan looked at Zhan Yuandao, who was fighting Yu in the arena. Oh, little chops, I'm going to smash your corpse into tens of thousands of pieces. Tianfeng, who was seriously injured, directly fell back to the late stage of the 4-star fighting immortal. The ghost energy in his body was extremely disordered. It was obvious that the ghost spirit and wolf were obliterated by Xiaoyan just now. Damage. Wang Buzz. Tianfeng, since you've reached this point, then fulfill me. Looking at Tianfeng's crazy appearance, Xuanyuan's face in the distance was indifferent. A trace of fiery emerged, and the ghostly energy all over his body rolled violently, as if there was something terrifying. Volatility emerges. Xuanyuan. Tianfeng heard the words, his pupils shrank tightly, as if he had sensed something, forcibly dragged the weakened soul body, and suddenly whistled towards the periphery of the ice palace. Tianfeng, what are you running? Peeved. With a sound, Tianfeng's body hadn't run a few hundred meters. Zhan Yuan's body suddenly swelled hundreds of times, crossed the ice layer in one fell swoop and came to Tianfeng, and then his mouth opened and closed. Tianfeng's figure was directly surrounded by its devoured. Not good. What? For a while, Yu and Xiaoyan spoke at the same time, their voices full of surprise. With the soul power of the two of them, they naturally sensed some strange fluctuations. At this time, Tianfeng seemed to be really swallowed by Xuanyuan, and Xuanyuan's aura suddenly went a step further from the early stage of 5-star fighting immortals. Wang Om! As Xuanyuan swallowed it, a dark cloud suddenly covered the surface of its soul body, and then a violent force suddenly shook, and a gloomy wind came. Damn, I'm careless. Yu came to Xiaoyan's side and bowed his head. What would happen if he had the power of the middle stage of the 5-star fighting immortals? Xiaoyan looked at Yu beside him with a solemn gaze. From the seriousness in her eyes, he could detect many things. In that case, I'm afraid we can only retreat. The transaction between me and you can only be broken and terminated. At this time, Yu laughed involuntarily. Quote. It's been calculated. But this guy, leave it to me. Xiaoyan waved his hand helplessly, and immediately took a step forward. He knew that in the battle between the two soul bodies, the stronger side had the right time and place, so only can do it yourself. Crash! After a while, the weird black fog disappeared, and a skull appeared in Zhan Yuan's hand in an illusory state. Looking closely, the skull was exactly what Tianfeng looked like, but now it has clearly lost all power. Like a puppet at the mercy of others. At this time, a trace of pain pervaded the skull, and there was even a terrifying wave in it. This guy has actually eroded all Tianfeng's power and compressed it into this shape. Not only is his power about to skyrocket to the mid-5-star fighting immortal stage, but even Tianfeng's body is like what power has been added to it. Xiaoyan took a step. He walked over to him one step at a time, his eyes solemn. It's only now, it's too late. Xuanyuan's dim light pupils suddenly turned into a bewitching red, and then the illusory palms changed rapidly, and spooky and eerie forces surged. Ha ha ha, all of you must die. The power of the soul. As Xuanyuan's crazy laughter fell, a *** light flashed on the back of his palm, and after a while, it poured in directly at the Tianfeng's skull. At the same time, the Tianfeng's skull from small to large, rapidly expanding, the look on the skull was rapidly magnified, and scenes of shocking pain continued to infiltrate, followed by an extremely strong destructive force. Blood spirit explosion. And when the skull expanded to 100 feet in size, Zhang Yuan's body quickly retreated, and a trace of gloomy smile filled the void. Boom! Just as the skulls rapidly expanded and exploded, scenes of bloodlight suddenly spread out from the inside, rendering the bottom of the ice palace *** place like a real purgatory, with bloodlight. Diffuse. Crash. At that time, a stream of lightning-like bloodlights shot out directly from the skull, like a doomsday scene, which made people palpitate. What's going on? At this time, Eriner hugged her little Dolma tightly, and said with a dry corner of her mouth, "Xuanyuan, where are you going?" Xiaoyan's figure flickered. With the power of the holy flame, he was not affected by this *** light for a short time. You have the power of holy flame. But for me in the middle stage of 5-star fighting immortals, it's just self-defeating. Die. Zhang Yuan's eyes were crazy. He slapped Xiaoyan with his palm, and his laughter was even more crazy, but he didn't notice an inconspicuous shadow beside him from beginning to end. Has been floating by his side for a long time. Pimple. A cold voice sounded like *** of death. In an instant, a sharp sound like a knife unsheathed appeared, extremely fast and extremely sharp. Zhu. The next moment, Xuanyuan, whose strength was about to enter the middle stage of the 5-star fighting immortals, shrank his pupils tightly, and his soul body was suddenly cut in half by an unknown creature. The flames lingered, the source was greatly damaged, and the strength was greatly reduced. It's over. After a while, there was a smile on the corner of Xiaoyan's mouth, and the hotter holy flame power in his palm directly formed a flame imprisonment, which directly absorbed Zhang Yuan into his body. He didn't kill him because there should be something Xiaoyan wanted to know about him, but Xiaoyan still underestimated the strength of the Master of Fireguard. After all, this kind of hidden killer, even if it is an ordinary 4-star Do Xian early-stage powerhouse cultivation, is enough to threaten the complete powerhouse of the 4-star Do Xian, not to mention that Xiaoyan's Fireguard Master has mutated, and even added the power of Xiaoyan's holy flame. Gululu. With Xuanyuan being dealt with by Xiaoyan in this way, calm was completely restored in the Ice Palace. Although when Xuanyuan was captured by Xiaoyan, a burst of extremely turbulent energy appeared in the void of the Ice Palace, but in a flash fleeting. Here, peace has returned to Zaidu. Continuing from the previous episode 1661. This is the end? That's a powerhouse who is about to step into the middle stage of the 5-star fighting immortals. Looking at Xiaoyan, he smiled naively, and there was an astonishing look in his beautiful eyes. Zhang Yuan's tyranny, is extremely unforgettable. She vaguely remembers that Zhang Yuan used the strength of the early stage of the 5-star fighting immortal to obliterate the powerhouse in the middle stage of the 5-star fighting immortal, but who would have thought that this tyrannical Xuanyuan would actually be able to do so? Being solved so easily by Xiaoyan, couldn't help but feel a sense of astonishment in her heart. There is something wrong with this guy's shadow. Irene stood on the spot from beginning to end, and immediately noticed some slight fluctuations in Xiaoyan's body. When Xiaoyan and Tianfeng were fighting just now, in order to prevent Xiaoyan from being distracted, Liner didn't alarm him, but from that time on, she noticed that there was no shadow behind Xiaoyan. The enemies should have been resolved, so let's get down to business as soon as possible. Xiaoyan walked over, flicked his fingers, and wiped out all the ghost energy left here, and said, but at this time, with the withdrawal of the Master of Fireguard, Xiaoyan's shadow is also returning to normal. Thank you for what happened just now. Didn't shirk, and strode directly towards the ice sculpture in the center of the Ice Palace. The cold jade bamboo is extremely important to him. Said to be involved in the holy flame, even if it enters the holy flame space, it will be instantly obliterated. Among the ice sculptures, there is a frozen jade bamboo. However, at this time, everyone's eyes were fixed on the spirits inside the ice sculpture, and they didn't notice the squirming of the void in the Ice Palace and the actions of little Zuoma. Woo! As Xiaoyan and walked towards the center of the Ice Palace one after the other, a spooky gloomy wind emerged from nowhere. This thing. As the distance got closer, Yu and Xiaoyan stood motionless at the same time, their eyes slightly confused. In front of it was an ice sculpture that was several dozen feet in size. The ice sculpture was extremely strong and could not be opened without skill. Inside, a lifelike green plant stood quietly. These ice cubes are not ordinary things. After Shunshi, Yu shook her head and said, "She just came here," and she released the power in her body, trying to crack the ice sculpture and get the cold jade bamboo, but she was surprised. I found that every time my soul invaded the ice-carved ice cubes, the chills that penetrated my heart easily swept the depths of my soul, which made Yu feel a chill. I am afraid that her soul power will be completely frozen, and she cannot bear the heavy price. Let me come. Xiaoyan frowned and said helplessly. This trip to the glaciers and Tianhe, if it wasn't for you having a detailed map of the Temple of the Lord of the Soul, Xiaoyan wouldn't have been so embarrassed. Anyway, since entering the holy Tan of the Undying, Xiaoyan has not encountered any good things, but more like it is the thug who generally serves others. These ice cubes seem to have life. Xiaoyan's palm just touched the ice sculpture in front of him, and suddenly a cold, directly out of Xiaoyan's control, penetrated towards the bottom of Xiaoyan's heart. 10,000 years of ice caves in general. You must know that when Xiaoyan was in Doqi continent, his body had already been tempered by many different fires. Now, with the increase of Saint Flame and Dragon God transformation, it can make everyone feel cold, which is enough to prove that the temperature here is extraordinarily low. Try it with Holy Flame. Seeing Xiaoyan's forehead, a trace of sweat appeared. Yu hurriedly said, "The mystery of this ice sculpture is far beyond his imagination. I am afraid that only the strongest flame can do it." Xiaoyan nodded lightly, and the dazzling khaki-yellow holy flame flowed out from his body like a liquid, pouring into the white jade-like ice sculpture in front of him. Wang buzzing. In an instant, the cold jade bamboo, which was completely frozen inside the ice sculpture, wriggled like a living stream, and the green lush aura completely recovered, which made people quite puzzled. Not good. Rewind. After the blink of an eye, Xiaoyan's pupils shrank tightly. There seemed to be another Xuanxian among the ice sculptures, because the ice cubes on top of the ice sculptures were actually absorbing his own power, and he immediately shouted. The figure tried to retreat quickly, but the holy flame power in Xiaoyan's body was slowly absorbed by the qi, and even on the ice cube of the ice sculpture, Xiaoyan's palm was firmly fixed. Good opportunity. At the same time, Mu Wushuang, who had been hiding in the dark, had a strange expression and a strange aura surging. With the help of this sudden change to cover up, he shot directly at Xiao Zuoma. The sudden move made the three of them not prepared. Go back. Seeing this, Irene hurriedly pulled the little dolma to retreat, but she stumbled, and the little dolma in her hand seemed to be gone. The fastest update of Qiqi novel, Su. Thank you. With a single blow, Xiao Zuoma, who was in a state of obsession, was captured. Mu Wushuang didn't stay for a long time, and swooped directly outside the ice palace. Bastard. Seeing this, Irene seemed to catch up with the skyrocketing speed, but she was helpless to be thrown off in an instant. Go on, soul power. Xiaoyan shouted in a hurry, and it was too late to take care of Xiao Zuoma. Immediately, Xiaoyan and Yu were wearing extremely violent ice power dazzling souls. The power emerged like spring water and gathered towards the ice sculpture. After a few minutes, the ice sculpture slowly became quiet, and even bursts of cracks permeated the ice sculpture, which had always been incomparably strong. As for the power that had just been absorbed, it was injected into the spirit bamboo. Crack. With a sound, the ice sculpture shattered instantly, and the green and lush cold jade bamboo was completely exposed in the air like a small piece of jade. Qiqi's novels are first published on the whole network. Apparently, it had just absorbed Xiaoyan's power, as if to restore Lingzhu to its original appearance. The transaction should be successful. Seeing this scene, Xiaoyan frowned and said, "This is the map you need. It has the most detailed route to enter the 4 temples of the Lord of Souls. You don't have to worry about me lying to you. This map was given to me by my master, the Dean of the Soul Institute." As he spoke, he gently took the cold jade bamboo into his pocket, and immediately took out an exquisitely carved jade-colored scroll. Xiaoyan threw it away. No problem. Xiaoyan's soul force intruded into it to investigate and found that there were no other problems, so he carefully put it away. Xiao Yan always had an intuition about the four major temples of the Lord of Souls. It seemed that no matter what, not only for Mu Yingying but also for Acacia Broken Heart, he had to go there once. A friendly reminder, Acacia Broken Enteric Inflammation is in the hands of Lord Li Soul. Although he has this map, the defense level of the four temples is far beyond your imagination. There will be a period in the future. Let's meet again at the core of the Undying Saint Tan. As soon as the voice fell, your figure left without hesitation, leaving only Xiao Yan and the two of them. And this ice palace was as silent as death, not to mention that the little Zuoma was taken away by Mu Wushuang at the critical moment. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1662. Quote. At the bottom of the ice palace, there were only Xiao Yan and Irene left. The two were silent for a while, and they didn't speak, and they didn't know what they were thinking. Little Zuoma was captured by Mu Wushuang. After a while, Eileen's eyes were filled with self-blame, and she shook her head and said, she was pulling Xiao Zuoma by herself from beginning to end, but now that she is captured, Irene was naturally more or less conflicted in her heart. Mu Wushuang seems to have been following us since he left us. But he is also one of the three powerhouses in Xuanxin Temple. Why would he let the two powerhouses in the hall be obliterated by us and remain indifferent? Now arresting Xiao Zuoma, why is this? Xiao Yan stood beside the ice sculpture in a daze, and frowned as he thought, but there were many broken ice chips left in the ice sculpture, and the inside seemed to be nothing but cold. There is nothing left other than Yuling bamboo. She should be fine. I can vaguely feel the aura on her body. Mu Wushuang seems to be leading her towards the core of the holy Tan of the Undying. After Shun breathed, Xiao Yan's eyes became deep, looking outside the ice palace, the void. After all, Xiao Yan's current soul power is so tyrannical, without the cover of the fog of immortality, naturally, he can vaguely feel the aura of Xiao Zuoma. She should be fine, and this time it is not certain that she will regain her memory because of this. Xiao Yan murmured, "You seem to know her details?" Hearing Xiao Yan's words, a hint of doubt appeared on Irene's little face. "I have holy flame, and she seems to have the same fluctuations in her body, but I don't know whether it was born with her or given to her." Xiao Yan shook his head and said, "If the gray flame on Xiao Zuoma is really innate, then this girl is probably really the spirit of the undead flame, and her amnesia may be related to the master of the soul. Otherwise, Xiao Zuoma's even Xiao Yan didn't know his background. Oh, this girl's life experience is too mysterious, even the teacher doesn't know. Since that's the case, let's go to the core of Undying Saint Tan first. I'm afraid a lot of strong people have gathered there at this time." Irene said, "Hey, don't worry, in this ice palace, there is more than just the cold jade and the bamboo." Xiao Yan simply smiled, and just after he finished speaking, he looked at the inside of the broken ice sculpture. "What's so good?" Irene heard the words, and immediately became interested, and trotted over. "Look." After Xiao Yan shook for a while, inside the shattered ice sculpture, pieces of exquisite ice pieces only the size of a palm were slowly pulled out by Xiao Yan. "What a beautiful piece of borneol, this thing." Looking at the white borneol that was slowly and quietly resting on Xiao Yan's palm, Irene's beautiful eyes flickered, as if she remembered something. Starter, mysterious ice realm? The next moment, Irene covered her mouth and nose with her little hands and said in a startled voice, "That's right, if it wasn't for you hurry, I'm afraid it wouldn't be our turn to collect this thing." Xiao Yan had a rare smile on the corner of his mouth. Obviously, this trip to Glacier and Tianhe was not for nothing. Mysterious ice realm, it is said that this thing can conceal the power to stop the extreme heat, so that the user can stay awake. Although this thing is not as precious as the cold jade bamboo, it is almost the same. Irene smiled happily. "How many are there?" Irene asked after a while, her toes lightly pointed, and she looked inside the ice sculpture. "There are 6 pieces in total. This thing should play an extremely crucial role in us entering the core of the holy Tan of the Undying." Xiao Yan also laughed. "Nuo, half for one person." Xiao Yan was not polite, and directly divided the thing in half. "If that's the case, then let's go." Seeing Xiao Yan so cheerful, Irene directly handed the 3 mysterious Ice Realm tablets to herself, and immediately made up her mind to not hide it from Xiao Yan. "Where to? Could it be that you know the passage to the core of the Undying Sacred Flame?" Xiao Yan had just put away his 3 mysterious Ice Realm tablets, and suddenly looked at Irene in surprise. Although the mysterious effect of the mysterious Ice Realm is mysterious, it is of little use to a guy like Xiao Yan who has 2 kinds of holy flames. Therefore, he gave Irene 3 so generously. It was an unintentional move, but it was unexpected. Araner was no longer covering up, and decided to take Xiao Yan to the core of the holy Tan of Undying. Of course. Araner smiled. That's great, but wait. Get out of here. In an instant, Xiao Yan was shocked, and an extremely weak light was thrown directly onto the ice surface by Xiao Yan. Little bastard. Dusk's voice burst out, and bursts of ferocious roars filled the air. This guy is Xuan Yuan, but at this time, his origin was damaged, his strength was greatly reduced, and he shrank into a dim light, which was quite embarrassing. I don't have time to talk to you now, I only have one question for you. You are the forces of the Ghost Kingdom? Xiao Yan asked. So what? What if not? Anyway, this trip to the Undying Fire has already been secretly set by that lord, and even you can't get the Undying Fire. When our army arrives in Lihun territory, the area in Lihun territory will only be the dead souls of our subordinates. Susu. Even if his breath was extremely weak, Xuan Yuan sneered and roared. Forget it, when there is time to properly interrogate this guy, the battle for the immortal fire is the most important thing now. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, Zhan Yuan's soul source was directly absorbed into his body, and his palms involuntarily clenched tightly. Xiao Yan secretly remembered what this guy said, but he didn't take it to heart. No matter how strong the Ghost Kingdom was, it would never be half the power of Soul Eater, so Xiao Yan was not worried. He, don't worry, let's go. Seeing Xiao Yan's eyes so solemn, Irene smiled sweetly. As soon as the voice fell, a ray of silver light suddenly filled his jade hand, and then turned into a stream of light in front of the two. First release. This girl really deserves to be taught by the old guy in the underground courtyard. Seeing this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but look at the black line. If it wasn't for the unintentional loss just now, I'm afraid his current situation would be quite bad. Let's go. The two of them didn't hesitate, they directly swallowed a large amount of medicinal pills to restore their vindictive chi, thus stepping into this void passage one step at a time. And this void passage is obviously given to Irene privately by these great masters from Headmaster I, and it can directly connect to the core of the Undying Holy Tan. Law. This is the pros and cons of idlers and disciples of major forces. Wang hum. With a sound, the void closed, and the place returned to silence, but at this time, the Holy Tan of Undying Fire also seemed to have reached the middle. At the beginning, the opening of the Holy Tan of the Undying allowed these powerhouses to obtain some treasures on the outermost periphery and treasures enough to protect them from the burning of holy flames, so that they could enter it smoothly. Now, I am afraid that these powerhouses have collected suitable treasures and headed towards the core of the Holy Tan of the Undying. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1663. The Holy Tan of the Undying is a very special space. It is like a sphere. The outermost part is covered by the fog of undead to sense the power. Among them, Undying Fire is the real highlight, but this time the Undying Saint Tan has poured into countless geniuses. Among them, most of the powerhouses are discouraged and can only divert their attention for no reason and move towards other treasures. And go, because where you enter the core of the Holy Tan of the Undying, there is a special existence called the Gate of Undying. Only when the strength reaches the 4-star Do Xian perfection level can one successfully pass through the Gate of Immortality. Damn, what the asterisk is going on with this undead sect. At this time, on a flat ground in the middle of the Undying Holy Tan, outside a rather rudimentary hut, dozens of figures gathered here, and among them the strength most of them are located in the middle stage of the 4-star Fighting Immortal and the late 4-star Fighting Immortal. It seems that a few people are about to set foot on the 4-star Fighting Immortal consummation, but at this time they are also blocked by the undead door, and their figures are quite embarrassed, obviously they never die. Out of defeat. Zoo. With a sound, the breeze blew on the flat ground, a space channel emerged, and then two figures appeared. There is one last step to enter the Holy Tan of the Undying. As soon as the two of them stood firm, Irene said quite playfully. One more step? Xiao Yan frowned when he heard this, as if he had a bad premonition, looking at the group of strong people surrounding the simple wooden house. "This is Irene from the Earth Spirit Academy?" Some people with extraordinary eyesight saw the two of them appear, and immediately recognized the two. "Isn't that the rumored first person in the Earth Spirit Academy, Xiao Yan?" The powerhouses of the 5 alliances of the Earth Spirit Academy have entered, and they are. The gathering figure couldn't help but said, "What is this?" Xiao Yan walked up slowly and asked everyone. "This is the door of immortality, and its interior is where the fire of immortality exists, and in this door of immortality, only the 4-star Do Xian complete powerhouse can step into the breath." These guys spoke directly, but their voices were full of a hint of banter. Obviously, Xiao Yan's midterm strength of the 4-star fighting immortals is still a long way from the entry threshold. Immortal door? 4-star fighting immortals is complete? Xiao Yan suddenly understood something when he heard the words, and his eyes became strange. According to the teacher's record, the Gate of Immortality was set up to prevent some powerhouses with insufficient strength from rushing into it, because Immortal Fire is the top 20 voice in the Holy Flame list, and the power of flame is not enough for the 4-star battle. A powerhouse at the level of immortal perfection has devastating suppression. Irene walked up, followed behind Xiao Yan, and explained. "Tisk tisk tisk. This waste. This skin is like ice and snow. But by the way, this Irene is in the courtyard. It is said that she has always been extremely cold. How can this be so now?" Although everyone was quite enthusiastic about Irene's appearance, they looked like a child of a small family. Such a gesture is also unavoidable for a while of envy. This Xiao Yan's midterm strength of 4-star Do Xian was actually able to train this Irene so gently, and the strong people present couldn't help but give Xiao Yan a thumbs up. The strong are indeed born, no matter how strong or weak. "Go in and take a look. We have to hurry up. There should be a lot of strong people who have already entered." Xiao Yan naturally didn't know what other strong people were thinking, and immediately advanced slightly, heading towards the simple hut. "What a shabby house. This is an array?" Immediately, after Xiao Yan pushed open the door, a burst of gray smoke filled the air, and then a strange pattern formed a square array on the ground of the simple hut, which was no more than 5 meters high. The formation is square, and it is aligned around it, but inside it, there are a series of hidden and esoteric lines, which are shocking, and there is a rather strange power in it. How to do this? Xiao Yan wondered. Step into it, and it will automatically detect whether you have the qualifications to enter the Holy Tan of the Undying. Erin whispered. She is not in a hurry, after all, she has already reached the perfect strength of the 4-star Do Xian, and it is only a matter of time before she passes the Gate of Immortality, and now the most urgent task is Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's midterm strength of the 4-star fighting immortal, can he pass the Gate of Immortality? But for some reason, Irene felt that Xiao Yan would not fail easily. Shabu shabu. Xiao Yan raised his front feet and stepped directly into the area covered by the square formation. This guy, although he has a lot of good fortune, but this immortal clan won't condone him. Let's see how the first person in the so-called Earth Spirit Academy lost. Some onlookers said gloatingly, "What kind of power is this?" As soon as he stepped into it, a sense of heaviness came upon his face, causing Xiao Yan to be like Mount Tai pressing the top, and the pressure doubled. First release, the first transformation of the Dragon God. Xiao Yan did not dare to hesitate, and the first transformation of the Dragon God was directly used, and his physical fitness reached a new level, just barely able to withstand the great pressure. Otherwise there would be no increase in the first transformation of the Dragon God. I am afraid Xiao Yan will be seriously injured by this wave. Wang buzzing. Immediately, a cloud of gray mist shrouded the simple wooden house, and Xiao Yan felt a rush of dryness. Gray flame? Undead fire? Ziwo? Xiao Yan couldn't help laughing when he saw the menacing gray flames filling the wooden house in front of him. Although the Undying Fire ranks in the top 20, it is only a child fire, and he already has 2 holy flames in his body. Therefore, for ordinary people, it may be extremely difficult for ordinary people to enter it without the complete strength of the 4-star fighting immortals, but for Xiao Yan, speaking of which, it is like a hands-on effort. Immortal fire. The young master is here, Xiao Yan said with a smile at the corners of his mouth. The laughter just fell, and the fire in the body was running at a high speed, easily nibbling away the gray flames that permeated the entire wooden house. There were bursts of fierce rays of light, covering Xiao Yan's body. After a while, Xiao Yan's figure disappeared here. He disappeared because of the power of the square formation and entered the core of the undying fire. Looks like he succeeded. It's really not that simple. No wonder the teachers say that this guy is a monster. Irene clapped her hands lightly and pushed open the door directly, and immediately followed Xiao Yan and entered it together. It's that simple? Seeing the two disappear one after another, a group of strong people on the outside of the wooden house couldn't help but look at each other. They knew the tyranny of the formation in the simple wooden house, but such a tyrannical formation, coupled with that kind of imprisonment, seemed to be in Xiao Yan's hands, like nothing. In an instant, the place became deadly silent. Perhaps Xiao Yan's so-called first person in the Earth Spirit Academy is also worthy of the name, but these are not important, because the battle for the immortal fire has just reached the really important stage. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1664. After Xiao Yan and the two crossed the gate of immortality, the top powerhouses in this holy sect of immortality gathered at the core for a while, and the real highlight unfolded slowly at this time. Gululu. With a sound, the undead door formation wriggled. Xiao Yan and Irene entered its interior one after the other. Here, it really is the place where undead fire exists. After a while, Xiao Yan and the two stood on the ground at the same time. Xiao Yan couldn't help but said. Because at this time, the undead leaves and the immortal sparrows in Xiao Yan's body were all sending out waves of extremely tyrannical fluctuations. This place should be the real holy talisman of the undying. Looking at the strange space under his feet, Xiao Yan licked the corners of his mouth and said hotly. This is a dark void, the area is extremely vast, and the horizon is endless. The overwhelming gray light spots are covered in the void like stars, and there are no decorations in the void, only the gray light spots, and some clear under the feet of everyone. Aside from the transparent water flow, there is nothing else in this space. Let's go. There should be the real highlight. Irene looked at a slightly tall mountain with her beautiful eyes, and found that there were dozens of tyrannical auras there. Obviously, these guys should be fighting for the undead fire this time. Competitor. Let's go. The two looked at each other, and the speed skyrocketed directly from the flat ground, heading towards the top of the mountain. In this space, the water squirming on the flat ground can only drown the ankles of the two, and in the center, there is a high uplifted mountain, and the gray mist is permeating the mountain, and it is not clear what it looks like, but many figures have already dealing with the void. They seem to be waiting for something, and in the gray fog, there is even a shocking power that is about to wake up. Xiao Yan? Irene? The people standing on the edge of the mountain at this time watched Xiao Yan and the two approaching, and suddenly spoke in surprise. HMPH. It's really surprising that a mere waste in the middle stage of the 4-star fighting immortal can enter here. Among them, Zhao Guang of the 5-sect alliance said with a cold snort. It's impossible to say that. In the middle stage of the 4-star fighting immortal, being able to cross the gate of immortality and enter here is enough to show that this guy is extraordinary. I think your excellency is in a gloomy mood, so you should leave as soon as possible, and you will be beaten to death for a while. But Yu who was beside him, said with a contemptuous look in his eyes. The 5 members of these 5 alliances do not know why, since the end of Glacier Tianhe, the 3 of them have been very hostile to Yu Xiao Yan, and Araner, and the reason is probably because they are playing with the powerful Xuanxin Temple. Now hold a grudge. You. Looking at Yu with sharp teeth and sharp mouth, the 5 of them said with solemn eyes. Okay, since you've come in, let's do it. Who will end up with the fire of immortality? It's up to each individual's fortune. At this time, the always quiet Court of Justice and the powerhouse of the Court of Adjudication spoke together, and as they spoke, there is a trace of deadly silence in this void. Obviously, the strength of these 2 people is probably the most tyrannical existence in this group. This space can only accommodate the powerhouses in the early stage of the 5-star fighting immortal. If their strength reaches the middle stage of the 5-star fighting immortal, they will be completely rejected and cannot enter. In addition to the obstruction of the Undying Gate, the Battle of the Undying Fire will become a 4-star fighting immortal. Consummate to the battle between the powerhouses in the early stage of the 5-star fighting immortals. As for the dozens of people here, except for some members of the 5-sect alliance and Xiao Yan, the strength of everyone else is almost in the early stage of 5-star Do Xian, and even the powerhouses of the Court of Justice and the Court of Judgment have reached the peak of the initial stage of 5-star Doshion, only a short distance away. One step is to enter the middle stage of 5-star fighting immortals. Chi-Chi's novels are first published on the whole network. How's the situation? Xiao Yan and the two came to Yu in an instant, and immediately looked at the dozens of people around them with vigilance and asked. Among the dozens of people, there are 10 other people from the 5 major courtyards, and the remaining few people are dressed in strange clothes, and they even use black robes to cover their true faces, so that people can't see their real faces, and their breath is quite high. Concealment seems to be intentional concealment. These guys. Xiao Yan frowned as he looked at the 5 mysterious men in black beside him. Among the 5 people, the aura of one person seems to be very consistent with Mu Wushuang, but Xiao Yan is not sure. Besides, the aura of the other 4 men in black robes is like the power of evil, causing Xiao Yan to not be sure. Yan was quite uncomfortable. This guy, is that the so-called Xiao Yan? The 5 men in black robes also seemed to sense Xiao Yan's figure, and immediately spoke slightly. There was a faint wave in their voices, and it was this wave that it caused the holy flame in Xiao Yan to riot. If these guys are not the strong ones among the sins, they are the evil races outside the realm. At this time, Xiao Yan also directly confirmed. Now that everyone is here, let's get started. These gray fogs in front of you should be the protective shackles that shelter the undead fire. Only by uniting our strengths and destroying them, we cannot destroy these shackles with personal strength. What do you guys think? For a while, Yu Xiao, the powerhouse of the Court of Adjudication, said, but there was no room for negotiation and his voice was like an order. Let's do it. I hope you don't hide it, otherwise it will be corroded by this shackle, and none of us will be able to escape, or even become a slave of fire. Deng Qing laughed along with him. Zheng Xin Lu Mao Chi Novel Wang. WW, Crash. Rotten Hand. Judgment Lock. Quote. Sword of Judgment. The python is like a snake. The seal of the Heavenly King. For a time, the tyrannical fighting skills overwhelmed the sky and covered the earth, decorating this peaceful void into a sea of fiery flames. At the same time, in the center of the holy Tan of Undying, the gray surrounding the undead flames permeated the air. Down, the gray diffused slowly disappeared like a cloud of smoke, revealing its original appearance. This is Towering Giant Tree? After a while, as the shrouded gray disappeared, scenes of shocking scenery suddenly appeared in front of everyone. What comes into view is a rather bold mountain. The mountain is steep as a whole. 5 huge stone pillars form the whole of the mountain, just like the 5 fingers of a human being, and even a breath of awe. Permeating from it, in the innermost dark space of Wuji Mountain, there seems to be an extremely tyrannical force, beating slowly. The outer periphery of the mountain, which is like Wuji Mountain, is a towering ancient tree with lush branches. Its dark brown branches completely cover the entire Wuji Mountain, and on its ancient branches, there are countless mysterious and hidden gray lines. Like the lines and words of the ancient times, quietly emerged, and by this increase, the power that is full of this ancient tree makes everyone feel a chill in their hearts. In a rather obscure place inside the 5 Fingers Mountain, a faint gray flame throbbed like a elf. That's undead fire. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis.